What the hell is going on with the NHS? Gone are the days when it used to be a place where if you got ill, broke a bone, needed stitching up, you went there, job done, and you came out. And you didn't pay a penny, unlike the United States where you had to get your checkbook, purse or wallet out and pay crippling prices. No, we are quite lucky here in the United Kingdom because it's kind of free, thanks to the national insurance contributions that everyone who works in the UK has to pay. But it's not that place anymore where a friendly, smiley nurse will make you feel better. Because now, more likely, that nurse is a left-wing Labour Party activist who's more interested in lying to you about a lack of personal protection equipment to deal with the plague, or spend their time practicing intricate dance routines for their TikTok videos. And this was done during the peak of the plague pandemic, when they were allegedly overwhelmed. And if they're not nurses lying to you, then they are hospital porters pretending to be nurses and telling you how exhausted they are and telling you how afraid they are of the nasty Tories getting their hands on the NHS and apparently destroying it, despite the fact that it's a Tory government that gave the NHS its biggest spending increase in the past 20 years, an extra £20.5 billion of taxpayers' cash. So I think I am right in giving the opinion that I think that the NHS is turning into something far more sinister, because there are numerous Twitter accounts which are verified as well. They have the blue tick on Twitter, which belong to NHS staff, and not just the nurses, because there's also the NHS Confederation Twitter account, which belongs to NHS management or NHS executives. And this lot are pushing for yet another crippling lockdown. Now, apparently there is a plan in place by the government. It's called Plan B, and is to help deal with an upsurge in the plague and to help take the pressure off the NHS. Because the NHS is complaining yet again about it being possibly overwhelmed this winter, but they've done this every year. Look at these headlines from The Guardian over the past 10 years. 2012, hospitals full to bursting as bed shortage hits danger level. 2013, hospitals scramble to prevent crisis in NHS's toughest ever winter. 2014, more patients, overstretched doctors, is the NHS facing a winter crisis. 2015, hospital bed occupancy hit record high, risking care. 2016, hospitals in England told to put operations on hold to free up beds. 2017, NHS bosses sound alarm over hospitals already running at 99% capacity. 2018, NHS intensive care units sending patients elsewhere due to lack of beds. 2019, hospital beds at a record low in England as NHS struggles with demand. And all this was before the plague. They were struggling before the plague, folks. And this NHS Confederation Twitter account is calling for Plan B. And Plan B would see things like mandatory face coverings in certain settings, plague passports, increased public communications, and more homeworking being rolled out. And it finishes off with, why wait for a crisis to happen before this action is taken here? Well, like I said earlier, the NHS seemed to have coped really well during the peak of this plague pandemic, when they were busy being Labour activists and making TikTok videos. Now, before the usual hysterical left-wing extremist lots come onto my channel and report it for medical misinformation, I'm just going to show you this graph, the source of which is the official coronavirus.data.gov.uk website. And it shows you that the NHS is not swamped by plague hospitalisations. That's just 2.6% of all admissions. So why on earth are they pushing for a lockdown and heavy restrictions, as well as freedom-denying plague passports, that, as this official graph shows, is just 2.6% of all admissions? And look at this Twitter account by none other than socialist NHS nurses. They're coming out now, they're calling themselves socialists. And it's posted this utter lie as well on Twitter. It says the NHS can't prepare for a winter crisis if it's constantly underfunded and under-resourced. Well, like I showed you earlier, the NHS has recently received the biggest spending increase in the past 20 years, so that's a lie. And then it complains there's a backlog of patients needed to be seen, black warnings out in most trusts, and ambulances waiting for hours to offload patients. The government don't care. Well, the reason for a backlog of patients is because of the first few lockdowns. And now it's asking for another one, which by the end of it will just add to a huge number of the backlog numbers. What the fuck is going on? And another lie here by these socialist NHS nurses. Everything is happening in our NHS is happening because of Tory government since 2010. So please don't blame our nurses and GPs. The Tories have one aim, and that's to sell off our NHS. We can't let them. Now, no government would dare sell off the NHS and turn it into a United States private-style organisation, which is just for profit. Whatever government implements that, they'd get voted out in an instant, and they know it. It would never happen. It would see the NHS begging and needing more money to cope with the cases. Because again, like I told you earlier, the NHS Confederation Twitter account are basically NHS executives. And the NHS executive is basically run by people earning vast sums of money. And they're calling for another deadly national lockdown in the UK, despite the fact that lockdowns have run up a waiting list of up to 14 million Brits, many of whom will simply die as a result of redacted treatments and surgeries. There are people who couldn't get a face-to-face appointment with their doctor because of the restrictive measures of the first lockdown, who are now dying in droves because they couldn't get their cancer diagnosed early enough. You can't diagnose cancer over a fucking phone line. And here's another hypocritical tweet by them. On behalf of our members in England, we're calling on Boris Johnson to enact Plan B. Yet another lockdown, basically, of the government's winter strategy without delay to help keep people well and avoid the NHS becoming overwhelmed this winter. Well, I'm going to suggest the only thing the NHS is overwhelmed with is diversity managers, middle management and incompetence. All this is really infuriating. And how the hell does the NHS have the front to complain about lack of funding when it recently diverted a lot of taxpayers' money to fund LGBT awareness and propaganda? And if you ask me, doing this is an absolute affront and a piss take to what the NHS should really be doing. It is up to an elected government to decide whether to bring in any lockdown restrictions, especially plague passports, and not some wealthy socialist NHS executive. Look, I know there are a lot of good people working in the NHS, saving lives, putting their own lives at risk, and working their arses off to accomplish this. There are people in the NHS who actually care about others and the jobs that they do. I accept that. I know that. But there are socialist nurses amongst them who are really letting the side down and giving the NHS a really bad image in the public eye. These people should just let the NHS be kicked around like a football by the politicians. They should leave the activism and the lying to the politicians, and they should just get on with their jobs and save lives. And yes, the NHS is a socialist concept, but if it wasn't for capitalist principles, it would have been dead on its arse a long, long time ago. And I think from what I've seen online and everywhere else, a lot of people are waking up to what these socialist parasites are doing to our NHS. And if anyone should be kept away from it, it should be them, not the Tories. Now, all the official information I have used and given to you in this video can be found on the official coronavirusdata.gov.uk website. So it's all true and not medical misinformation, unlike what the government, SAGE, the media and the NHS are presenting to you at this very, very moment. And it looks to me like some sort of power play by these idiots working in the service. But to what end? Your guess is as good as mine. Anyway, that's my video. Please let me know what you think in the comments. And if you'd like to support my channel, then by all means you can buy me a beer. Because YouTube and Google have demonetized my channel for what I say, and they don't like it. Yet they still put adverts on my videos and profit from my work, and I think that's wrong. So not only by buying me a beer are you giving the lefties in YouTube and Google a swift kick to the bollocks, but you're also supporting an independent creator and free speech. Right, that's it. That's my video. Please comment, share, subscribe, and until my next video, Roger Trout.